And for this place, they know they overdo things. If you're not careful, I'ma take your girl and leave. With some of the good guys, I want to me bad boy team. It's a different pattern, different lamba, different type of style. In different color, different shape, different type of size. And bad man got nothing on you, so why you no go dance? Go, Dora mi agbese. Gbese le konkan, digigi. Dijo ma gbese, gbese. Dijo gbese, gbese. Baby go down. Gbese le gbese, digigi. Dijo ma gbese, gbese. Dijo fuji mi. Baby go down.
Hello, everyone. You're welcome to today's webinar on unemployment policy review and recommendations. Thank you for joining.
Good morning. Sam Ruiz, good morning. And good morning to Bolaji Olatunde.
Good morning, Aloho. Good to hear from you, and welcome to our webinar today. I'm very sure it promises to be an exciting one.
Yes, it does. One of plenty learning also, and something that is very contemporary and relevant to present situation in our country.
Right.
Good morning, Kingsley. Bolaji, if you can hear us, can we hear your voice too? Good morning, Bolaji Olatunde.
Morning. Good morning.
Okay. Good morning, and I welcome you all to this insightful webinar where we have webinar/public lecture. Now I'll be doing a rundown of who we are because some of you this might be your first time of engaging with us, the Rethinking Economics, the Pluralist. Now we are a body that started officially, though we were operating before 2018, but officially in 2018. And we are part of Rethinking Economics that is headquartered in Manchester, United Kingdom. And this is our second conference, online conference about the situation we find ourselves in, but officially the third one. The first was a physical meeting in University of Lagos, Nigeria. And so, talking about who we are, as the Rethinking Economics, we believe that graduates and undergraduates of economics departments across the country are closer to finding the solutions to the economic problems in Nigeria. The main problems we target are poverty, low life expectancy, low ease of doing business. Our mission as a body is getting every economic student of this country on our side. We aim at influencing their thoughts into encouraging them and motivating them into detailed research and analysis that will help them suggest better policies and introduce greater ideas to solve the major economic problems in Nigeria. And we all know, top of this list, we have poverty, increased life expectancy, and a regulatory environment that is more conducive and business friendly. Our vision is to provide every useful information, materials, and tools that will help the average Nigerian economic student learn better and challenge them into creating solution theories and policies that will improve the quality of life of all Nigerians. Our scope will not be limited to local forces. We shall focus more on international influences, especially from countries with the healthiest economy. So yeah, that's a brief issue of Rethinking Economics, the uploaders. And for this program, yeah, unlike our previous programs where we're coming up with topics from our own personal research, for this program, it's special because we allowed you give us what we should discuss. And so, in a major twist from our usual norm, we conducted an extensive research in October 2020, which was aimed at finding the biggest economic problem. It had over 500 respondents and participants, and we came up that the top problem in Nigeria is unemployment. And that's why we have our meeting today, solving the major economic problem in Nigeria, which is unemployment, and then policy review and recommendation, which is holding today, the 12th of December. We also use this medium to apologize for the postponement due to unforeseen contingencies. So thank you everyone, and you're welcome. Now at this point, I'd like to introduce someone whom you may or may not have interacted with, but I guess you definitely should have. The chief convener, the group head, Sheon, for his opening remarks.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining in again. Okay, here is the second webinar we'll be having online. Okay. We are actually hoping that this will be done in a way that all the attendees we get something tangible out of it, either in your own businesses or in your economic activities. Just a brief explanation of how everything came about. Hold on. Yeah, thanks. In February, we had one webinar on the fourth industrial revolution. So after that particular webinar, we noticed that there's this lag between our students, that's the students we have networks with, and the programs that we have been coordinating. So we decided to kind of bridge the gap by saying, okay, the next program that we'll be having is going to be something that we want the students to actually participate in the organization of the program. So that was what led to the research that we did, which was asking students on what the biggest economic problem is. And lots of students interacted with us. We use the WhatsApp platform because of the situation. We're chatting privately with students, asking them the questions and documenting the answers. So we got lots of responses, and we figured out that most of the students, most of the people, even economic graduates among them, identified unemployment as the biggest challenge. And some of them even explained to us how it is affecting them personally, I mean, currently in the country. So we decided to organize these projects that's solving the major economic problem in Nigeria project, which is part of this webinar on unemployment policy review and recommendations. And we are hoping that with this webinar, we'll be able to empower the students as the attendees, and some people who will watch this video maybe after, with very vital information, knowledge on how they can help themselves out of this big challenge. And if you have been following the trend, if you have been following what's been going on around, you figure out that the unemployment situation in the country has not been good. I mean, if you look at the unemployment rates, we're talking high figures on them, like about 50% of Nigerians population is either unemployed or underemployed. I mean, when I mean underemployed, I mean those who work below 40 hours per week. So if the labor force population, which is about 80 point something million, and 50% among them are not doing something to add to the GDP, then you can imagine what the situation is for our country. So this is a big challenge, okay? We could have gone all the way around to organize something entirely different from what is happening in the country, but this is what we think the country needs right now, and especially for economy students who are the stakeholders of what is going on in the economy. You are not accepted. In fact, you are the forefront of this challenge. And if there's anyone who is to recommend solution to this problem, it should be economics experts first. So we are presenting this problem to you and hoping that you get something tangible from this lecture. Thank you very much for joining in once again. Hello, please introduce the speakers.
So we have distinguished scholars who happen to be our mentors also in economics, and who happen to be our mentors in economics. So starting from our first speaker, Dr. Shitu Ayodele. He is a father to us, also the Deputy Director of the Center of Entrepreneurship, University of Lagos, Nigeria, among several positions that he's holding. For one, as we've been his student and his children, one thing we can attest to is his passion for youths, and chief of which is entrepreneurship, trying to make us entrepreneurial, which the primary purpose of solving the unemployment problem. And that's why we have here someone with the relevant skill and experience to impact us relevant knowledge for application. And the other speaker is Mr. Buchi. It to me, and to my friends, is one of the major inspiration, or is a backbone to a lot of us in our academic pursuits, and one of the reasons for our success today. Sorry, I'm getting a bit personal, but yes, he's a renowned scholar and a lecturer in the University of Lagos. So that is our second speaker. So, Sharon.
Yeah, thank you. So right now we'll be going straight to the public lecture by Dr. Shitu first, and then we'll have a question and answer session, and then we have Mr. Bucci on his public lecture also, and also a question and answer session after that. And finally, we will be doing a little briefing to end. We just want to make sure this is as timely as possible. Uh, Thank you very much. I'll be introducing Dr. Shitsu Ayodele to present his public lecture. Dr. Shitsu. Yeah.
I want to welcome everybody to this August occasion. And it is my belief that as young people, now is the time for us to take on the responsibility of resolving the youth unemployment challenge in our country. Interestingly, if you look back into history, unemployment challenge isn't new. Okay? Unemployment challenge isn't new, and it's been with us for several years. And looking back since independence, you realize that for every national policy document that is being put forward by the government, be it under the military government or under the civilian regime, unemployment is often mentioned. Okay, first National Development Plan, second National Development Plan, third National Development Plan, the Structural Adjustment Program, even up to the recent Economic Recovery Growth Plan, ERGP 2017 to 2020. Unemployment features very well, and it is a prominent subject in all of this. So what we expect is that we as young ones now, the onus is on us to not to wait for the government anymore. I keep saying it. If you tell me you're waiting for the government, you're simply wasting your time, because the government won't solve the entire problem for us. And we all are a stakeholder in this development agenda. So, as young people, I wouldn't want to bore you talking about what is unemployment or how unemployment is different from underemployment. But to let us appreciate the severity of the subject of unemployment, especially youth unemployment. Okay, and as we have known in the recent time, Africa is being described as the youngest continent globally. This is not a mistake. It is a fact, because if you look at where the crop of young people are domiciled, it is within the continent of Africa. Thanks to Nigeria, the big brother of Africa, where the demographic is tilting towards young people. And today, the evidence has shown fully that 60% of the Nigerian population are actually young people. But unfortunately, we are yet to appreciate that this crop of people or this segment of Nigerians are a critical asset that the nation needs to invest heavily in. Yes, I appreciate the fact that we talk about the role of infrastructure. We talk about the role of capital investments. We talk about attracting foreign investments. Now, because of the dwindling value of the naira vis-a-vis the dollar, we are beginning to rethink how should we use our diaspora funds and the likes. But nobody is still talking about how do we harness the innate potential of each young person in this country, especially those between the ages of 15 years old and 35 years. For me, this set of people constitute an important asset that is worth more than the value of the crude, or worth more than the value of any natural assets that we think of, the gold, the diamond, and the likes. Hence, we as young people, we have a role to play. I'm not going to canvass for NSAS here. No, this is not the time for us to talk about canvas for NSAS. Okay, but this is the time for us to engage ourselves in intellectual revolution. Okay, we the young people need a complete mindset. I've sent it now. Okay, and that is by not waiting for the government anymore, even though government still has a role to play. Number two is the fact that we are also not sure of what the definition of unemployment or underemployment is. Yes, the World Bank, the ILO have given us a globalized definition of unemployment: somebody who is willing, who is capable, who has all the energy, who has acquired the skills, okay, but cannot find anything to do, is unemployed. And if you are underemployed, yes, you have the skills, you have the knowledge, you are capable, but what you have found doing, you're not satisfied with it. Or perhaps you're expected to work for not less than 40 hours in a week, but the kind of job you get, you're working 80 to 90 to 120 hours in a week, and yet you are unfulfilled, bringing in the concept of the decent employment now, okay? But in reality, we keep asking ourselves, how many young people today really are fulfilled with whatever they're doing? Except for few. Perhaps if you find yourself in KPMG, or you find yourself in NNPC, or you find yourself in Ernst and Young, okay? But if you find yourself working for me in Shitu Nigeria and Shitu Enterprise Limited, when people ask you outside, what are you doing? You feel shy. That, oh, Shitu Nigeria Limited is just a new one-man business, and all I do is I'm a jack of all trades. You know, we don't really consider opportunity. And so one area that I feel that needs a lot of understanding or deeper research for the benefit of all of us listening today is should we define employment, and how do we define underemployment within the Nigerian context? Take for example, we have cases where people have actually gone into vocation today. They've learned sailor tailoring, they've learned how to barb, they've learned how to make chairs, that is carpentry, they've gone into welding, some even into mechanic. And at the point of attaining freedom, many of them abandon this vocation for Okada riding, daily pay. I want to make quick daily pay. Would you say that person is unemployed or underemployed? These are important questions we need to ask ourselves. Or let's go into the formal setting. A university graduate who has graduated, finished service, and has applied to Ernst & Young, no positive response. Has applied to KPMG, no positive response. Has applied to NNPC, no positive response. Has applied to Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, no positive response. But got a very favorable response from Oluwole Nursery and Primary School. And he resumes there 8 a.m., closes by 4 p.m., and gets a minimum salary of 30,000 naira per month. Would you say he is unemployed or underemployed, even when he is enjoying what he's doing? You know, these are several questions that we need to ask ourselves. And the mere fact that many of us have a wrong perception of wherever we are today makes this subject of unemployment a complex one, because we need to appreciate the fact that there is need for you to acquire experience, there is need for you to learn, there is need for you to step up, and there is need for us to grow. And if we are lucky enough, there is need for us to now begin to create newer opportunities for ourselves and for other young people. Having said all of this, I would love to look at the emerging facts. There are three important statistics that I have put together for the benefit of this conference, and that is the unemployment figure. Unemployment figures by education, by gender, and by age group, using data from the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. And when we look at it from a gender point of view, the statistics shows that 19%, 19.6% of male compared to 22.9% of female were unemployed in the year 2010. 10 years down the lane, this year 2020, the figure has increased. For the male, we have 23.5% unemployed, and for the female, 31.6% unemployed. Obviously, you can see there is a gender dimension to unemployment. So the male seems to be more favored than the female. What could be responsible for this? These are interesting questions that we need to begin to explore. Given all the increasing awareness that we need to empower the girl child, gender parity, gender equality, female engagement, all interventions for women, all intervention for this, for that, the figure still shows that the female gender is worse off vis-a-vis the male gender. Let us look at it from the point of view of education now. As far back as 2010, 23.1% of the unemployment rate among degree holders, particularly first degree holders, BSc or HND, was 23.1%. 23.1%. 10 years after, this is 2020, the year 2020, based on the last figure that was released by the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics in the month of October, unemployment rate among first degree holder jumps to 40.9%. I ask myself, of what use is having a degree anymore in this country? Okay? So, for those who have master's degree, In 2010, unemployment rate among master's degree holder was 20.1 degree, but today it is 22.9%, rather, I'm very sorry, 20.1% in 2010, but today it's 22.9%. The doctorate degree holders are not spared also, those who have PhD, okay? In 2010, unemployment rate among PhD holders was 19.6%. Today, unemployment rate among PhD degree holders is 23.3%. Interestingly, for those who do not have all these degrees that were, I am advocating today that we must all begin to look inward, appreciate ourselves, and think of what we can make out of every opportunity that is before us. Now, you can see that for degree holders now, BSc, MSc, PhD, we could witness that within the last 10 years, there has been an increase in the unemployment rate among this group of people. Whereas for those who don't have all this degree, there is a reduction in the unemployment rate among them. And this is why we would probably canvass for technical and vocational education and perhaps other entrepreneurial training. In terms of age, young people are sincerely worse off because we are the higher group when you look at it compared to other demographic cohorts. Between 2010 and 2020, just a space of 10 years, we've experienced an increase of more than 15% unemployment rate, especially among the cohorts of 15 to 24 years of age. In 2010, unemployment rate among this crop of people between age of 15 and 24 was 25.2%. And today, it has risen in folds to 40.8%. Those between 25 and 34 years old are also not spared, because in 2010, unemployment among this group of people was 21.7%, and today it is 30.7%. Little wonder why majority of the NSAS participants are within this age bracket. In fact, our government got it wrong, believing that it is because students were at home. ASU is on strike, and that was why many participants, these NSAS advocates, were able to mobilize a lot of students or young people. Unfortunately, the truth is this: it is not because they were at home, but because many of this group of people are believing to be unemployed. Many of them aspire to be very great. They look forward to having fantastic and decent job, but they are not getting it. Okay? So the big question is, how did we get to this level? How did we get to this level? I would give us 3 important points to note. Number 1, death of industry. Since the adoption of the structural adjustment program in Nigeria has been witnessing the closure of factories. We have seen the creation of more churches, the development of more mosque buildings, the creation of more party hall, event centers, than we are creating factories. Many of us today wonder why China is growing fast. China is growing fast because once a person starts a business today, he's already thinking of how to build a big factory in the next 5 years. Let me not go into the mercantilist ideology for now, where it is assumed that whatever you can consume, whatever you are going to consume must be produced. And whatever you are going to consume, you must not even think of importing it, but you will rather produce and export. So I wouldn't say in totality that Chinese are pursuing a mercantilist ideology, but you could see in them that they are export oriented. Even what they don't need in their own country, they keep producing it. Okay? That is number one. Number two, since the year 1986, Nigeria has been engulfed with consumption mentality. All we want is the best clothes, the best drink, the best shoes, the best dress, everything the best. But yet, are we producing them here? No. So we've placed premium on consumption over production. Okay? And it's so worse off that even as young ones, the little money we have now, we put spending before savings. And that negates the simple concept of our national income equilibrium, national income equation, where consumption plus savings plus what? Your export minus import and government spending. But in this case, if you do not save, how do you invest? Look at our national economy today. We save only for the purpose of what? Sharing. At the end of every month, every governor goes to Abuja to cut out of what has been saved from excess crude, rather than investing it in infrastructure or investing it in the value chains of different products that we have today. So, undue preference for consumption is one of the factors affecting our ability to create jobs in this country today. And number three is our lack of sincerity for diversification. Yes, I can say wholeheartedly that economic diversification is not a new concept in Nigeria. Right from the third National Development Plan, diversification has been entrenched in Nigeria development policies. It was captured in SAP. It has also been captured in all other programs that we've been having, down to the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan agenda. However, we've not been able to develop any systematic approach to that. Unfortunately, we've had several policies that have been created with a view to ameliorating unemployment challenge in Nigeria. I wouldn't bore you with what we have pre-1999, but let us start with the Obasanjo regime. We have the National Poverty Eradication Program, which emphasis was only on what? Eradicating poverty. It has several programs, but the major focus was what? On eradicating poverty. Today, 20 years after, Nigeria is adjudged the capital, the poverty capital of the world. That tells us how efficient our policies are. During the administration of Goodluck Jonathan, we had three important policies that was given birth to. The Youth Enterprise with Innovation in Nigeria, YUWIN, the Graduate Internship Scheme, and the Youth Employment in Agricultural Program, YIP. While the YUWIN focused on empowerment, it was short-sighted. You can imagine in a country of over 170 million people then, with a population of not less than 60 million young people as at 2012, 2013, this program was targeting only 100,000 youths. Same with the Graduate Internship Scheme, targeting 50,000 unemployed graduates in 36 countries. And the YIP, that is the Youth Employment in Agricultural Program, targeting only 750,000 jobs in a period of 5 years. I wouldn't say that these programs are a waste of time, but it calls for interrogation so that when we occupy positions tomorrow, what are we going to do differently? Remember, it is often said that Nigeria has good policies. However, our problems are what? Implementation. I want to believe that the problem goes beyond implementation, because even when conceiving the ideas of this problem, do we take all this data into cognizance? Today, we are talking about the Youth Entrepreneurship Support Program, which is championed by the Bank of Industry and targeted at core members across the country. I ask myself, how many core members have benefited from this program today, even when the fund is there sitting down? We have the Empower, and we also have the Youth Entrepreneurship Development Program that is being championed by the Central Bank of Nigeria. In all sincerity, when you Google, you see more of all these policy documents, but less of scientific studies, testing the durability, the efficacy, and to what extent have we achieved the set objectives set out in all these policy documents. Let us not forget the global development agenda. As young people, the sustainable development goals are important, particularly goal 4, goal 8, and goal 9. Goal 4, SDG 4, emphasizes on quality education. And this stresses that what? We must ensure that all girls and boys have access to quality early childhood development. And when I look at this goal in particular, I feel that early childhood development starts from the home. So when we talk about all other forms of education, the role of the family cannot be overemphasized. And studies have also shown that how best you perform when you choose to go or to follow the entrepreneurial path depends on your family background. So the home front is important. Goal 8, which stresses good jobs and economic growth, emphasizes what? That by the year 2030, we should have sustainable per capita economic growth. We should have achieved higher levels of economic productivity through diversification, technological upbringing, and innovation. In this very SDG, this very goal, I'll look at the concept of productivity. Are we productive in Nigeria? Are we diversifying? Are we upgrading ourselves technologically? And how innovative are we? These are opportunities, areas of research that young people should look into. Last year, we talked about the fourth industrial revolution. You cannot dissociate that from this SDG goal number 8. It is very important. And I will also look at the SDG goal number 9, which is innovation and infrastructure. Interestingly, infrastructure has become a cliche in Nigeria today. Everything is what? It is either we are talking about corruption or we are talking about investment in infrastructure. Railway line from Lagos to Niger, reconstruction of road, reconstruction of dam, this and that. However, I often say to myself that infrastructure goes beyond just construction of road or building rail or building electricity dam. Anything that makes work easier for us is infrastructure. Anything that will make the delivery of my service easy is infrastructure. So we need to go beyond just saying that infrastructure is road, bridge, rail, or aircraft. No. What about intellectual infrastructure? That is why today, if you want to build bridge, you have to call on Julius Berger. You won't call on Dr. Shitu. If you want to build our airport, we have to call on Boeing. You won't call on Engineer Fatogu in Nigeria here, because we have not invested heavily in our intellectual infrastructure. So this goal emphasizes that we need to develop quality, reliable, sustainable, and resilient infrastructure. Not just that alone, it must be inclusive and must embrace sustainable industrialization through enhanced scientific research, as well as what? As well as technological capabilities. And I'm asking a final question, which is the way forward. The way forward for me is divided into two parts. The first part is appreciating the demographic nomenclature in our country. And we must begin to appreciate young people as assets in this country. That is number one. Failure to do so, we would lose our young people to other countries that appreciate them. As I speak, Canada is waiting to absorb as many young people as possible. Britain is willing. Okay, several other countries in Europe are eager to embrace our young people because they see young people as an asset. For them, aging is a challenge right now. And for us, we see our young people as a problem. Rather than looking at young people today as a problem, let's appreciate them as assets. And once we do that successfully, then we can go to the other side, which is what? Motivation. Let's motivate them. Let's create the desirable opportunities and empower them with requisite skills that will help these young people to tap into this opportunity and unlock their own potential for their own personal good and for the social good of the entire country. And this comes to bringing to bear the role of entrepreneurship education in our schools, the development of entrepreneurial ecosystems in our schools and in our various communities, as well as striving day by day to reduce emerging barriers that could put a stop to the entrepreneurial aspirations of young people in this country. Not only that, startup financing opportunities, as well as other necessary business startup supports, such as incubators, mentorings, and entrepreneurial networks should be made available to all these young people in order for them to thrive in the entrepreneurship space. And if we can do this slowly and gradually, we will be creating newer jobs, opportunities for young people. So, who says that a 15-year-old Nigerian cannot be an employer of labor, or a 24-year-old cannot be an employer of labor? Once we do all of this, to the best of our understanding and to the best of the resources that we have embedded within the Nigerian nation, we would be on our way to resolving the problem of youth unemployment or underemployment. Thank you all for listening. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Uh, that was very, very educative. Moise, could you please take over the question and answers?
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Shitu, for that enlightening presentation. A lot of facts and figures have been put out there, and it's really amazing how the unemployment situation in Nigeria has worsened over time. So as economists, we just have to do the right thing to figure out a way to improve the situation and make things better. So we'll be taking the questions now. We have about 4 questions from the participants. So, the questions are directed to Dr. Shitu. So the first question is from Sanusi Ibrahim Mohammed. So the person asks that despite the female population, which is higher than the male population in the world, so why is this? Why is the unemployed, the figure for unemployed male higher than the female? I mean, we have higher population of female compared to the male, but yet the unemployment figure for male is quite alarming compared to the female. So why is that?
Thank you very much, Sanusi. I think he got it. He got the figures wrong. In actual fact, we have more females, okay, but at the same time, the unemployment among the female folks is still higher than the male folks, okay, and several reasons have been alluded to this. One is the discrimination. Generally, we tend to have a soft spot for male when it comes to employment. Okay, I'll give you an example. When I was still working in the industry, you see several of the human resource persons saying that, especially when it is a lot, the work requirement is highly technical, they often believe that the men are in a better position to confront such tasks. And I'm glad today that within the engineering field, we are beginning to see more males, more females in classes today. When I was doing my own undergraduate days, in engineering faculty, you could barely count up to 10 females in the class. But today we've seen an increase in the number of female students pursuing engineering career. And thanks for the STEM advocacy, that is the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics advocacy, that are encouraging females now that, oh yes, what a man can do, a female can do better, but not in all cases anyway. So, but however, gender equality, okay, has actually given hope that if you can employ a man to do something, okay, you can also employ women to do the same. And the good thing is that in several organizations today, they are encouraging, okay, gender-friendly policies. not just only even in the workspace, even in research spaces today. For example, now I'm working on a grant in the University of Lagos, where the grant stipulates that at least 30% of all participants must be female. Anything I'm doing, 30% of the participants must be female. So even when I don't see females who have shown interest, I have to go all out to beg people, oh yeah, please just come. Please come and join us because you can benefit from it. So in actual sense, female population is higher. At the same time, unemployment rate among them is higher relative to that of the male. Another reason beside this bias is also their own biological feature, okay? Naturally, there are some tendencies, there are things women cannot do, and that discourages them. Apart from that too, we did a study recently, okay, on the motivations of women in housing businesses in Lagos. And we realized that majority of the women whom we interviewed preferred their home front more than making money. Even though they tell us that, yeah, making money is good, but they don't want to lose their home. So anything that would take that hours away from them in terms of taking good care of their home, maintaining their children, and sustaining their family, they wouldn't want to do it. So it is quite natural that unemployment rate is higher among the female folks than that of the male folk, but that can still be worked upon in the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chiso. Next question is from Ibrahim Miriam. She wrote, as another graduate female who is passionate about a future career in economics, the world is full of uncertainties. So what would you say? Would you rather say that education is not directly proportional to a successful career? And then a second question, what are the skills needed to create an edge in the labor market when opportunities are rising?
Okay, these are two important questions. Miriam, okay. Now, let me break it down. I'm going to give you a simple quote, which I have held on to since 2018 when we did a study on the transition, youth labor transition into labor market, okay? So in other words, we wanted to identify factors that the barriers to successful entry, that is when you graduate, and what are the factors that will limit your successful entry into the labor market. In that study, we interviewed over 80 human resource managers in various countries across Lagos. And one thing stood out from our findings, and that is that what? For young graduates, please listen, for young graduates who know what they are doing, for young graduates who know what they are doing, there are more than enough opportunities for them out there. I'll take it again. For young graduates who know what they are doing, there are more than enough opportunities for them out there. However, there are scarcity of opportunities for all graduates put together. Are we together? What this is telling us is that what this is telling us is this. It has practically become a norm among our graduates today that when we get into school, just as you are a young economist, a young student studying economics, you delay your plans until when you're about to graduate. Year one, you're loafing, you're playing, you're dancing, you're enjoying the vibes on campus. Year two, you're doing the same thing. Year three, you're doing the same thing. Year four, you're now packaging your CV, okay, and asking yourself, what does the world hold? But the truth of the matter is this. You need to start making your plans right from year one. What are the likely skills do I need? Who and who do I need to know? Who and who do I should I focus on? Economics is so broad. Creative economics is there today. Monetary economics is there. Agricultural economics is there. Industrial economics is there. Manpower and economic resources is there. Energy economics is there. Entrepreneurial economics is there. Okay? So which aspect of economics are you looking at? Are there certifications that you need to embrace? ICANN, CIBN, CIS, CITN, ACCA, ETC. Technological wise, which technological tool do I need to know? The basic of all, Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, PowerPoint. How proficient are you with all of these? Let's look at your data analytical tools, eViews, Stata, SPSS. Today, even data analysis are advanced, okay, where we now have people delving into data analytics. So, how prepared are you as a young economic student? We are talking about artificial intelligence today, machine learning. How conversant are you with all of these terminologies? So, I am not saying that having a degree is bad. No. But many of us go into school with this closed mind that I'm going for a BSc degree and we are only targeting just the first class. No. Today's labor market appreciates a T candidate. And what does a T candidate imply? A candidate who knows a brief of everything, but very deep of something. So you must be very good at something. And as young economists today, there are a wide range of opportunities that you can tap into. Data analytics is there. Project management is there. Investment options are there. There are so many career paths you could pursue along investment line. I can say to you categorically, in University of Lagos, most of our students, including Eloho, including Muiz that is anchoring the question sessions, they paid attention to all of these things. Are we together? Take up professional exams. Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers, Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, CIBN, Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria. We have CIPM, Chartered Institute of Personnel Management. Take up all of these things and keep yourself busy. Don't also forget that selling is a skills. These certifications, in my own case, I wasn't financially buoyant when I was growing up like you. So I wasn't privileged to write any of these exams. But guess what? I love selling. I took to sales. And that actually empowered my networking ability. Okay? So you must acquire skills. Acquiring skills is not only about reading. You can also get yourself exposed by volunteering. They want to do something in your school. How many of you will volunteer to be ushers? How many of you will volunteer to be rapporteurs? All of these also strengthen your communication and writing skills. How many of you will volunteer to lead your research team? It sharpens your leadership skills. So there is actually so much that goes into making you a complete graduate, not just the CGPA. You need more than your CGPA to be a better graduate that will transit successfully into the labor market when you graduate. And do you know what? I keep telling people that this is not, entrepreneurship is not only about starting business. It's also about equipping yourself with relevant skills. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shito. That was a very well taken response. So, Olaoluwa Samuel, if you're listening, I think while Dr. Shitu was addressing the last question, he has rightly done justice to your question as well. So we'll move to Abdul Rahim Abdulaziz, who asked that why is it so difficult to secure a job when you have reached the age of 30? And why is it that the females have more opportunities open to them in terms of securing jobs?
Okay. All right. I would start with females having more opportunities. Okay. It is simply because of the reinvention of policies that are taking place. Simply because all policies are advocating that women should be given enough opportunities. We can't give them absolute opportunities, but they can have access to enough opportunity. Particularly if you look at our sustainable development agenda. Okay, so one of these agenda actually emphasizes, that is goal 5. Goal 5 of the sustainable development agenda actually stresses that there should be gender equality, and it stresses that what by the year 2020 we must have achieved gender equality and empower all women and girls. In fact, Abdurrahim, if you set up a foundation today as young as you are, that your focus will be on empowering young girls within your vicinity, I tell you, you will make more money, you will attract more attention than Dr. Shitu, who is setting up a foundation that he wants to train young people in entrepreneurship. Are we together? Because everybody will listen to you when you say, oh, you want to give young females access to opportunity. Is that okay? So it is a policy thing, and we can't shy away from it. Earlier on, I mentioned that I have a grant that we're managing in the University of Lagos, which emphasizes, it is written boldly and underlined, 30% of participants must be female. So if I put up a call today and 30 people, I need 30 people, and all the 30 are all male, I cannot choose more than 20. I have to go begging for the remaining 10. Female must be there. Even last year that we had to travel, okay, we had to beg people, yeah, come, we are taking you to Kenya. Yeah, you come and follow us to Kenya, even when they don't have any specific role to play. But because the policy documents risk, you must give them that opportunity. Then the next question is, why is it difficult to get a job when you are 30? Let me tell you something. Life is in stages. Are we together? Life is in stages. Yes, it is difficult to get a job at the age of 30, but at the same time, it is also not difficult to get a job at the age of 30. Now, between the ages of 20 and 25, please note this, experience has shown that companies will be eager to employ you into their entry level. That is why you have entry level managers. So between that age, 20-25, you are a good potential candidate for entry level. But once you are above 26 or 26 and above, if you're waiting for entry level, I tell you, you will be wasting your time. And it is very systematic, because those that have been employed between 22, imagine, let's do the mathematics. I'm 22 years old today, and I'm offered a job as entry level manager. I'm expected to get a promotion at the age of, after 3 years, which means by the age of 25, I would have completed that 3 years and expected to move to the next level at the age of 26. At that point, if I move successfully, my initial position becomes what? Vacant. And the company will look for another 22-year-old graduate to replace me as an entry level. So if you are above 25 in this country, I tell people, stop looking for entry level jobs. And that is where you have to prepare yourself. So at that point, from 26 years old upward, what you should be selling at that point now is, what do you have to offer the company? So the company will employ you only when they see the goods that you are going to offer them in order to add value to the organization. I would beg that Muhi speak to this, okay, after the whole of this conference, because he has a better experience as well. He's young, but I know he has experience on this. I will use my own case as an example. Okay, I got my own first job at the age of 28. I haven't graduated at the age of 24. There was no job, but I took to selling. And that sales experience gave me my first job in Nigeria's first telecom company, first indigenous telecom company. I went there with all these bottles I was selling, and I did a sales demo for them. But today, if you ask any graduates, any of you attending this conference, come and sell, you say to yourself, a whole bee? Selling is a skill. And today, if you go to LinkedIn, I'm sure one of the courses on LinkedIn for self-development is sales professionalism. Are we together? So if you are above 25, don't wait for your degree alone. Add more to it by looking for an additional skill that you can now sell to the organization. And when they see that these skills will be useful to them, they will buy into you, they will buy into your offering, and you get your employment. Is that okay? Thank you, Abdurrahim.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Chito.
Yes, please.
I actually read a research report which says that sales and business development skills is the top valuable skills that employers are looking for presently. So well,
I'm
you
sorry,
might avail
Muiz.
yourself that information. Yeah. So at this
please.
point, because of the time constraints,
Yes, please.
we will be noting the rest of the questions and try to provide answers to them later on. But for now, we would like to move to the next lecture. So we have Mr. Onyebuchi.
Muiz?
Yes, sure.
Yes, I would appreciate if you can put all those questions together, okay, into an Excel sheet. So you make it available to me to provide the answers, then we can share it among all the participants as well to learn from.
All right, that's lovely.
That'll be good.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Over to you, Shio.
Please, Mr. Buchi, time for your public lecture. Thank you very much.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me. As of now, I can't turn on my video as well as share my slide. So I don't know if one of the panelists can help me to share the slide, or I can do just that from my end.
Yeah, meanwhile, we have sent the slide on the group chat. Please, if you're on the group chat, you can access it. Yeah, I think I can share from here. Yeah, I can now share from my screen. So, okay, you can go on, sir.
Okay. All right. So thank you once again for the opportunity you have given to me. I would like to appreciate Dr. Shitu, my boss, my teacher, and also my mentor for a wonderful presentation. And I also want to thank the organizers for this great opportunity. If you have your slide with you, our discussion today focuses on unemployment, policy review, and recommendation. And the next slide, please. The
Okay.
outline of the presentation would follow
Yeah.
us. We have an introduction, and then we look at the concerns about the definition of unemployment, and we move from there to assessing the unemployment situation in Nigeria. And then we kind of review the existing policies, and the next item there is to um, streamline the gaps that we can observe from the existing policies or policies that have come in place before. And then we look at the policy recommendation. Next slide, please. So the presentation I'll be going through would focus attention majorly on the macro perspective of unemployment. Dr. Shito has been able to do a clear justice when you look at the micro analysis of unemployment. So that's looking at the people, what can they do, what should be done. But my presentation will be taking another dimension by looking at the macro aspect. So that is bringing in government, the policies and existing strategies, and how can such policies be improved. So, as an introduction, unemployment has been a major concern for developing and frontier economies, of course, which Nigeria is part of. And this has consistently been a major discourse and concern both for researchers, industrialists, even the youths, and as many well meaning Nigerians. So, it has been a major concern. And when you look at this major concern, the government at different administrative capacities, they've all more is still needed to be done in order to resolve this plethora of challenges associated with it. So the government still has a lot to do, and at the same time, it looks like nothing has been done. That becomes a rhetoric question. So, and we must also understand that unemployment is just a consequence and resultant effect of a poorly managed economy. And when I'm talking about unemployment here, I'm not looking at full employment, all right? In full employment, there exists some unemployment, which is because of the period of switching jobs. No, but I'm looking at a full blown unemployment above 3%. It can also be a consequence of weak, consistent policies. And you can also look at inadequate institutional framework that is set up in addressing this. Remember, I said I will be looking at the unemployment perspective from the macro So I said unemployment is one of the major consequences, all right, and a resultant effect of a poorly managed economy. And the unemployment I'm talking about here, I'm talking about a full-blown unemployment. I'm not talking about those unemployment that occurs at full employment level. I'm talking about unemployment 9%, 10%, 12%, 19%. Most times they are resultant effect of a poorly managed economy, as well as weak, consistent policies. Okay. And then we also can see inadequate institutional framework that is being set up in addressing this. So when you put these three together, most times it looks like the government is trying, but at the same time, we can't see the efforts of those various administrations. Next slide, please.
Okay.
So most times the weak policies only serve as palliative measures, all right, and does not in the long run actually lift many of the masses from being unemployed. So you see those policies as just palliative measures. They are just short-term efforts just to ravage the situation. And then before you know it, in the long run, they are back to the level of what? Unemployment. So however, there's a need for us to actually look at the definition of unemployment so that it will give us a good perspective on the area we are to look into. And NBS 2020 has defined unemployment as persons that are between the ages of 15 and 64 years who during the reference period were available for work, they were actively seeking for work, but were without work. This definition will guide us in understanding the concept of unemployment as well as some major concerns that we need to understand when we are looking at the issue of what? Unemployment. And you look at Nigeria that has a very large population, has a very good GDP per capita of 2000, about $2,300, all right, classified as one of the biggest economy in Africa. Yet we expect unemployment challenges should have been a forgotten social menace. We expect unemployment challenges just to be temporal, but we keep seeing this trend increasing. So on addressing the issue of unemployment therefore becomes a huge cost, all right, that Nigeria needs to do what? Solve. Next slide, please. So I would like to take a stylized definition of unemployment, and then we need to understand some major concerns when we are talking about unemployment, because many Nigerians, many people, when they look at the definition of unemployment, they might not really understand the concept, the content, and to what extent can we say someone is unemployed. First of all, we need to understand from that particular chart, we have the whole Nigerians, which are the total population, and the total population is divided into two: the labor force, all right, and the non-labor force. The labor force are those between the ages of 15 and 64 years old who are willing, they are able to work regardless of whether they have a job or not. So that makes up the labor force, all right? And the non-labor force, when you look at it, the non-labor force are divided into two groups. The first group are the persons below 15 years, as well as those that are older than 64 years. So we categorize them as a non-labor force. And then we also look at some group of persons that are still within 15 and 64 years who are unable to work. They are not actively seeking for work as at that point in time, or rather they choose also not to work, and at that same point in time they are not available for work. So we must look at that particular category of the unemployed, of the non-labor force, as against the labor force, which are made up of those that are employed as well as those that are not employed. They are actively seeking for job. All right, so this particular chart gives us a whole perspective of what unemployment is all about. Next slide, please. So having said that, let's look at the major concerns that we have to understand when we are defining unemployment. The first concern there is that a rise in unemployment does not necessarily implies that there are increases in job losses. We must understand that. So when we see unemployment increasing from 23% to 25%, 27%, it does not mean that, oh, more people are losing their jobs. No, it could mean one, we have people outside the labor force who have just decided to join. So we talk about the fresh graduates. We talk about those housewives that they want to work initially, or probably during their time of childbirth, they decide not to work. And maybe after giving birth to 3-5 years thereafter, they choose, okay, I want to go back to work. So these categories of people can increase the level of unemployment. So when unemployment is rising in Nigeria, we shouldn't just conclude, oh, the government is not doing anything, policies are failing. We should not just conclude that way. Some of those issues might just be because of these categories of people that are entering into the system. The second reason we can see is that there are people previously working but are in search of job. So it becomes dicey there. We have millions of people or many people that they are working. Yet when it comes to application for job placement, they apply. So we see, for example, an organization that places advert, and from that advert, 10,000 people applies. From that 10,000 people that applied, you might be surprised that 6,000 currently have a job placement, but because they are in search of a better job, they keep applying. All right. Another thing you should also understand is that one of the major reasons again for increase in unemployment is due to increase in the labor force. So when we have a growing labor force, which I will tie to the next point, population growth, there is every tendency for what? Unemployment to increase. So a population growth rate, for example, of 3.25% for Nigeria implies that at every year you will still have a group of people that will be joining the labor force. So you now consider the rate at which people are joining the labor force and the rate at which people are getting jobs. So that does not really mean that increases in unemployment is because people are losing their jobs. Okay. Another concern we need to understand is that unemployment varies across states. Okay, depending on the nature of economic activity that is predominant in that state, unemployment varies across states. So when you look at some states that are largely into agriculture, all right, you then discover that seasons would determine their level of engagement. All right, for those that during the period of planting, of course, many will be employed, many will be engaged in one activity or the other. And so within that period, you discover that unemployment is low for that particular state. And then during the period where you have maybe they finished harvesting and then they are relaxing, waiting for the start of a new season, you discover that many will be either unemployed or underemployed. So the kind of economic activity that is predominant in a particular state determines the level of unemployment. Then again, we should also understand that unemployment is time bound. So when you are taking a definition of unemployment, you need to consider the time horizon at which you are defining unemployment. So unemployment is not unending. You need to look at between this time and this time, what is actually the level of what? Unemployment. Then the next one you need to understand is that surveys have shown that many that are unemployed, sorry, the former slide, please, has shown that many that are employed, all right, are not happy with their current jobs. You need to understand that. CNBC Africa 2019 discovered on global scale more than 50% of many that already have a job are not happy with their current job. So when you see a statistic that says, oh, 27% are unemployed, while 73% are employed. Within those people that are employed, you need to ask an important question: how many people are happy with their current job? For example, in US, about 85% as of 2019. Thank you. So the next slide. So having those concerns about the definition of unemployment, it should keep you wondering. All right, when somebody tells you, oh, unemployment is this particular rate, you need to ask yourself questions: how true is it, and what constitutes the unemployment? So the next outline is for us to look at unemployment situation in Nigeria. I wouldn't dwell so much on this because Dr. Shito has extensively kind of discussed unemployment situation in Nigeria. Of course, it's no longer news at the second quarter 2020 that unemployment in Nigeria averages 27.1%. And that is an increase from 2018. Of course, there's no data for 2019 at 22.5%. So if you look at that trend, okay, you see that that trend is following an upward trajectory. That means if you look at or you project unemployment just with a simple trend, that coefficient there is +2. So that means you expect on average, okay, unemployment to keep increasing by say 2% on average annual basis. So that should pose a major concern for policymakers. The next slide, please. And then we look at the um, trend of underemployment, okay, in Nigeria, okay, and we'll see that if you compare this particular graph with the previous one I've shown, we have more people that are underemployed, all right, and this particular trend also keeps increasing, and it's worthy to note within 2018 and 2020, the underemployment rate has increased by about 8%, which is a major concern. And that talks about or spells or tells a large volume of the type of jobs that are being provided, both by policymakers, the private sector, as well as the education, the tertiary institution. So that's a major concern for policymakers. The next slide, please. So we also look at the unemployment among the rural and the urban settings in Nigeria, all right, between 2010 and 2018. You would see that at some period, the rural sector, okay, are largely unemployed compared to the urban. This trend has alternated itself, okay, within 2010 down to 2018. In 2017, you can see the urban sector is highly unemployed compared to the rural, while in 2018, the rural is more unemployed compared to the urban. So that talks about some level of policy consistency, okay, that's that's that is prominent either among the rural setting or you see the urban setting, and that talks about the type of policy.
Just make it faster. That's all.
Sorry, please. Okay, the next slide. And also we can see or compare the categories of those that are unemployed, all right, across age group. And we can vividly see that those that are highly unemployed are within the ages of 15 and 34. And you see those are from 35 down to 64. The unemployment rate is very low. So we have youth unemployment persistent in Nigeria. The next slide, please. And Dr. Shuto has also placed emphasis that we have more female that are highly unemployed compared to the male as at the second quarter 2020. The next slide, please. So this is the unemployment across states as at second quarter 2020. And you can see from the trend that Rivers State has the highest rate of unemployment at 28.7%, while Osun State has the lowest rate of unemployment, 1.4%. And that tells you about state policies, variations in state policies towards addressing unemployment. And that also tells you about the extent of migration across states in search of a better lifestyle that can also determine the level of what? Unemployment. And we see where Lagos is 12.7%, averagely in between the minimum and the maximum states with the lowest and highest level of unemployment. Next slide, please. So we need to review existing policies that have been in place, all right, in order to address unemployment challenges. Now, we should understand first that unemployment is a macroeconomic problem. And if unemployment is a macroeconomic problem, in order to address that unemployment, there is a need to develop macroeconomic objectives or macroeconomic policies or strategies or development plans, all right? So developing a development plan, whatever document you will call it, if that plan is judiciously followed, we can seldom say that there will be a decline in unemployment. So unemployment policies are not abstract and they are not in isolation of macroeconomic policies, all right? So that is why in reviewing these policies, we will be looking at the various macroeconomic strategies that have been taking place, that have been set up in Nigeria as far back as the pre-colonial era, all right, down to the colonial era, down to today. And so each of those policies, we need to ask ourselves questions. Are they policies that are channeled towards reduction in unemployment? Or are they policies that are channeled towards other objectives? And we must understand that even if a policy is channeled towards growth objective, it can also lead to a reduction in unemployment. So streamlining those policies, we have the first one, the development plans in the colonial era, okay? All right, that's pre-1916 independence. That period, Nigeria had no development agenda. Everybody is just going out, waking up, doing whatever they like. They don't even think unemployment is existing, all right? And so the goals, they don't have any goal, they don't have any rule. Their leadership, they were all the dictates of the crown. We know this, okay? And then to execute the mandate of the queen, she had appointees down to take charge, all right? But you should understand that what the queen has only did and their agents are strictly how to increase or how expenditures is to be incurred in the areas of agriculture, transportation, and communication. So those development plans were just how can we improve agriculture, cash crops? How can we enhance transportation across regions? And then how can we enhance communication? These were the major objectives of those development plans in the colonial era. The next slide, please. And then we look at the development plans immediately after independence. You see, within 1962 down to 1985, we had the development plans, a fixed term planning, okay? And in that category, there are 4 phases. They are into 4 phases. The first development plan, the second, the third, and the fourth, correct? When you look at the first development plan, the major objective is to ensure equitable distribution of national income, stimulation of economic growth, increase in mobilization of savings for investment, all right, in order to reduce the pressure on imports. So you can see also the plan just intends to increase standard, all right? That means if we say that this development plan is geared towards economic growth, mobilization of savings and investment, we can seldom say that it will result into what? A reduction in unemployment. However, this policy had a setback. There was lack of technical, human, and material resources that were actually needed to execute that particular objective. And so you see a development plan that does not have any technical capacity, all right, to execute. They don't have the human skills needed. The material resources are not there. You then ask yourself a question: how do you want to increase economic growth? How do you want to ensure mobilization of savings? How do you want to ensure that unemployment is reduced? That poses a major challenge to that first development plan. The next slide, please. Then we look at the second development plan, all right? That was launched after the Civil War. And the major objective was just to reconcile, to reconstruct, to rehabilitate the economy, all right? So we were trying to recover from the Civil War that occurred. And so every effort towards building, reconstructing, and rehabilitating, all right? That development plan had 5 core objectives: to achieve unity, for us to be self-reliant and be a strong economy, to build a great and dynamic economy, to build a just and egalitarian society, and achieve democratic society and develop an environment. So all of this is just to unite Nigeria. That is just a summary of that. They just want to reunite Nigeria. And so that is the sum of the development plan we can say from there. Then we look at a major setback. We discover that people do not have the will. The government don't even have the will. They don't even have the intent. They don't even have the capacity to execute or accomplish that particular plan. Next slide, please. So the third development plan was because of the oil boom, all right? And so they were just so much interested in how can they increase foreign exchange earnings? How can they increase per capita income? How can they ensure equitable distribution of income? You will discover that this plan is just like a re-echoing of initial development plans. Of course, they were seeking for how to reduce unemployment rates. But when you see all those development plans, you ask yourself a question: what are the technical framework? What are the models? What are the viable strategies of achieving such development plan? Next slide, please. Next slide. So after that, we look at the rolling plan, all right, within 1990 and then 2000, 1998, all right, before the Fourth Republic. So that rolling plan, as far as I'm concerned, there was no basis for sustained growth and development, all right? It was just focusing on high revenue through crude oil, all right, and then enhance the productive capacity of the economy, as well as reduce debt burden. So the plan is just to how can we have more. That is the rolling plan within 1990 and 1998. Now we look at the development plans or policies or strategies from the Fourth Republic. All right. If you look at it, the first one is the Poverty Alleviation Program. That was immediately when Obasanjo became the president. Okay. And just the strategy or the target was towards eradicate poverty. And then there was a target, at least, if you look at all these plans that are in this slide, each of those plans at least has a particular target towards unemployment reduction. At least there was a goal, there was a target. So it is left for policy makers, it is left for researchers to actually evaluate these targets, were they met, and what are the lacunas that we can see. For the policy poverty alleviation program, a target of creation of 200,000 jobs, all right? That was their strategy, that we can reduce poverty by creating 200,000 jobs, all right? And the next question you ask is, at the end of that poverty alleviation program, how many viable jobs were actually created? The next one was the NAPEP, all right, the National Poverty Eradication Program, okay? And this particular strategy, that is where we had the Youth Empowerment Scheme, that's yes, the Rural Infrastructure Development Scheme, okay? That's where we had the Social Welfare Service Scheme. That's where we have the Natural Resources Development and Conservation Scheme. And you ask yourself that all of these projects within a particular development framework, there are four. How do you intend to achieve it? How do you want to do what? Execute it. All right. Hussein 2014 noted an initial amount of 6 billion naira was approved during its commencement in 2001. 6 billion naira was approved. Okay. But the program was partially successful. After they rolled out the first Keke Napep, we all know the Keke Napep we are seeing today, funding continuity becomes a major problem. And so that particular plan just collapsed. And in 2004, we had the National Economic Empowerment and Development Strategies, which is the NEEDS, all right? And that NEEDS is just a medium-term development strategy that is designed to be implemented in different stages, okay? That development strategy tried to incorporate policy framework which will ensure that a long-term alleviation of poverty and creation of employment opportunities are achieved, all right? And so they developed four major strategies. One, reforming the public sector and the various institutional framework, okay? by fighting corruption, promoting transparency and rule of law. They are of the opinion that if they can do this, there will be a revenue that will be saved, and that revenue that is saved will be used to channel towards what? More creation of jobs and more execution of public projects. So that's the first strategy. The next strategy was to reposition the private sector so that the private sector can be seen as drivers of growth as well as creation of employment opportunities. Okay, they are of the opinion that if they can improve the private sector, enhance their investment climate, empower them to be able to strive in businesses, all right, improve the conditions of business of their environment, business environment, they will be able to create more jobs, all right. The third strategy was to improve citizens' welfare uh, by enhancing the education, the health services, all right, and provision of or development of empowerment programs. That was the third strategy. And the fourth strategy was designed to change the natural cultural perspective of people. All right. So to enhance their cultural perspective. And that was why we had the Ministry of National Orientation and Culture. So if you look at this particular needs assessment, at least this needs objective, sorry, of 2004, you would see that there were strong strategies, they were objectives, they were sound, they look so good that if they are strictly followed, we can say yes, unemployment will be a forgotten issue. And that led to the 7-point agenda. The 7-point agenda, Yar'Adua came up with it. 1, improving critical areas of the nation's infrastructure. 2, resolving the Niger Delta crisis. 3, ensuring food security. 4, human capital development. 5, strengthening the land tenure system. 6, promoting national security. 7, ensuring poverty alleviation through wealth creation. So those were the 7-point agenda. And you ask yourself, within 4 years, you have 7-point agenda. How do you intend to achieve this? How do you intend to execute this? And before you know it, the administration was changed, and we had Jonathan. Jonathan decided to bring in the SHORP, the Subsidy Reinvestment Program. And Jonathan found that, there's a need for us to remove fuel subsidy and see how we can reinvest that particular fund into improving the welfare of the people. And so their target was to, 1, reduce negative and immediate impact of the subsidy removal on the welfare of the citizens. So that is palliatives. That's the beginning and genesis of palliatives in Nigeria. The next one, they want to lay a foundation for the successful development of a natural safety net program that is targeted at the poor and most vulnerable on a continuous basis. That is also another palliative. So you discover that the SHORP program is just on improving the most vulnerable, try to raise them up so that they can cross the poverty line. And then before you know it, in terms of sustained or a viable job or employment, you can't even see that. So that is the SHORP. The only program we can see first that has focused more, all right, on how to create a sustainable development program is the Empower. And if you look at the Empower broke down or identified different segments that people can actually work, people can actually do something, all right? That's where we had the Empower Volunteer Corps, Empower Knowledge, and Empower Build, all right? And we had different segments, N-Tech, N-Agro, all right, N-Health. All of these areas were just to encourage the youth to identify different and viable ways of doing what? Reducing unemployment. So if you look at the Empower, a statistic showed that 20,000 health applicants, all right, provided primary health care services, and 23,000 applicants were also involved in agro-ally sector, Then the program also selected 140,000 applicants in the Empower Tech and community initiatives. Then 500 billion was targeted annually to be spent on the Empower scheme. However, only 175 billion was spent in 2016. 350 billion was also allocated in 2017. So you can see a milestone of achievements that that occurred during that particular era. So, and the current one we are in now is the ERGP, which has three major objectives: restoration of growth, investing in the people, social inclusion, creating jobs, and improving the human capital base of the economy, as well as building a competitive economy. So the macro objective 2 for the ERGP is focused primarily on ensuring job creation. So having reviewed all of these policies, we then ask ourselves a major question: what are the gaps that we have identified? Please, next slide. One, the plans were overambitious. So you see a government that comes in, creates different development plans, different strategies, different policies, 7-point agenda, so many of it. They were just so overambitious. All right. And then there were too many areas to address, and we had lack of policy direction. So why don't we have an economy that, or an administration that comes in place, and year one, it tells you, I want to focus on this area, and you deal extensively in that area. And in year two, I want to focus on this area. So we must strive or seek to develop plans, policies, and have a focused direction. Let us know what we are doing. Not just want to reduce unemployment, want to remove poverty, want to increase this, want to do that, want to do this, and everybody will shout, yes. At the end, we achieve none of them. And then there is no technical framework and modalities towards achieving the plans. There is no framework, I can say it. Go to the ministries, ask them, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Budget and National Planning, go to the Ministry of Office of the Accountant General, go to those offices, ask them, where is the framework you are using in developing your plans? Where are your policy frameworks? The ERGP, where is the framework that is being developed towards achieving that plan? How do you intend to improve investment in the people? What do you want to do? What are those viable sectors? How do you intend to disburse the fund? There is no framework, all right? And so another problem is the change in government administration, okay? Of course, you can see that each of those plans are ushering in different administrations. So this administration comes in place, oh, this is what I want to do. The next one comes in place, that's what I want to do. So there is no continuity. And then there's poor monitoring and evaluation of strategies and plan. The ERGP has been in existence in 2017 till now. Let's ask ourselves a question. Has the government reviewed the performance of ERGP in 2017? Have they reviewed the performance of ERGP in 2018? What are the lacunas they discovered to guide them in 2019? None. You just bring up a policy, you throw it in the thin air, everybody downloads it, researchers are just coming up to develop their own research areas, and then the government does not even provide a position paper on annual basis that, oh, ERGP, this is what we have done, this is how we are fared, this is where we are going to. Go and check the target of inflation rate in ERGP and look at what it is today. Go and check, okay, let's just say, look at what it is before the pandemic, because we can't really look at 2020 as a year, all right, because of the pandemic. But pre-pandemic, look at what is inflation rate, look at what is unemployment rate, look at what is economic growth. That tells you that you just develop plans and you don't set up a monitoring and evaluation strategies of achieving those plans. All right. And so we also have, you design policies for unemployment reduction just to gain public attention. Let me give you an example. The Empower we have today, all right? You tell me today that graduates should come up, go and apply in public schools, and when you apply in public schools, they give you a job placement for 2 years, if I'm correct, with a monthly pay of 30,000 naira. You look at that public school, that secondary school you're applying, we still have existing teachers that are teaching those classes. Then you have a new member that comes in to teach the same class. What do you expect? The teacher there can even negotiate with the empower personnel that, oh, no problem, I won't be coming to work. You should be teaching my class. At the end of the month, don't worry, you take the money. Or the person that is in the empower program will negotiate with the teacher that, I want to be doing something. I want to go and be doing a side hustle. While I'm doing that side hustle, you should be doing what? You should be teaching. So at the end, you discover that empower, for example, is not created to expand job. It is just like a palliative. It's just for people to be spending. It's just for people to be living. So those particular programs, they are just designed just to create public attention. Then you look at the 774,000 jobs now that the government just developed, all right, to employ 774,000 people in 774 local governments, all right? And you discover that the National Assembly asks them a simple question. How do you want to employ these people? How do you want to identify the vulnerable? How do you intend to sustain this? There is no framework. Today, ask them, how many have been employed among those 774 local governments? Who are those that are engaged in it? You don't have them. Please, the previous slide. Sorry, I'll round up now. And then you have corruption, corrupt practices, political deception. We should stop playing all of this. Let everybody develop strategies and find out a way on how to resolve them. The final slide, please. So, policy recommendation. You have all of that, creature story. I just want to focus on one: quality education. Quality education. This goes out to everybody, including the lecturers, including the teachers, including the students. How do we intend to develop a quality education? How do we intend to improve the quality of education? Some of us are graduates, and some of you have friends that are schooling in Canada, UK. Ask them, let's see your curriculum of your master's program. Let's see your curriculum of your undergraduate, and you will discover a great divergence between what is obtainable here in Nigerian universities and what is obtainable in UK, what's obtainable in Canada, what's obtainable in US. So how do we intend to improve quality education? How many students are just reading just to understand and solve issues? Or are they just reading just to pass the exam? Are they just reading just to get a grade? How many teachers are actually teaching core issues and bringing the application according to how it's obtainable in society? Look at Harvard question papers. Look at MIT in their management department, economics. You will see questions that are live based on organizational issues, industry's problem. You will see those kind of questions that students will be answering. Enough of all this, what is economics? Enough of all this, what is economic growth? Enough of those things, enough of the derivations. We ask ourselves questions, the derivation we are doing, how can we apply it in the society? German company, Julius Berger, that is working here in Nigeria. Most of those Oyibo people you see that are in Nigeria constructing infrastructures, the roads, they are technical graduates in Germany. They are not their graduates. So look at those technical graduates. Look at what they are doing. In Nigeria, a secondary school holder, what does he or she know? Secondary school. The system has gone past the era whereby you will see secondary school, they will be writing answers for WAEC on the board. And you see students that will have 5 A's and they don't know anything. So there's a need for us to ask ourselves the question: quality education. Are we learning to get better? Are we learning to know? Or we are just learning to cram and have a BSc certificate? And at the end, you are thrown to interview. You don't even know what is happening around you. You are asked a question, you can't even answer it. So we need to really, really ask ourselves question. Quality education is not just the government. It boils down to the teachers. It boils down to the parents. You will see parents that will go to school to bribe their teachers for the students to pass. That is wrong. At the end of the day, we have students graduate in BSc economics, and you cannot develop a policy model that can address the situation. So please, aside we shouting at the government, aside we shouting at the people, saying government is not doing this, we need to go back to ourselves. How many of us are learning to understand? How many of you actually did economics development just because you are bothered about the poverty situation in Nigeria? How many of you actually did economic development just because you are bothered about the unemployment situation? Or you are just doing it just to cram HDI, how to measure it, life expectancy? Is that what we want to do? We can't develop that way. Let's look at those in abroad and look at their quality, what they are actually learning. I rest my case. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Buchi. I mean, that lecture was from your art, the ending part. I mean, it's really a very sad situation with, I mean, the mindset that students nowadays goes to class with. I mean, just to know the mathematics, just to know the 1+1, and then move ahead, move on with your life. But I mean, this is really affecting us directly and indirectly. Thank you very much, Mr. Buchi. So due to time constraints, and time has been fast spent, so we'll be taking just one question, and then we'll forward the rest to Mr. Buchi, and be sure that we'll provide you the answers later on. So we'll be taking the question from. So Ibrahim Miriam asked, does alleviating poverty necessarily of unemployment or creating more job opportunities? One is short-lived while the other is long-term. Mr. Buchi.
All right, thank you for that question. Like when I started, I said when you look at all these macroeconomic objectives, they are somehow interrelated or they are intertwined when you look at these objectives. So when you develop policies, all right, towards alleviating poverty, what are you saying? You are developing policies to increase the income of the individuals. That is the meaning. Alleviating poverty, I'm looking at definition of poverty, all right, with absolute lack when you don't have income. So we can seldom say that policies towards poverty reduction are policies towards increasing the income of people. And how will you increase the income of people? You must engage them. If you do not engage them, there's no way you can increase their income. It's not Yahoo Yahoo. All right? So policies towards poverty reduction are policies towards increasing the income of the people. And so there are policies towards engaging them. All right? So we can say truly, poverty reduction strategies are short-term. And if you're able to engage them, all right, in the long run, unemployment will fall. That's just it. So the starting point is alleviate poverty. How? By giving them money. How do you give them money? You must engage them. So when you now engage them, unemployment will reduce. Thank you.
I think we can only take like one more question, then we can put the rest in Excel sheet to prepare it for the group chat. Just to round up.
Okay, sure. So we'll be taking the second question from Abdul W. It said, thanks, Mr. Buchi, for the presentation. Can you please highlight the reasons why all the previous employment policies have achieved very little results? Mr.
Honestly,
Buchi.
yes, honestly, two major reasons, okay? And one of them is very germane. Past unemployment policies, there are no technical modalities, there are no models, there are no step-by-step strategies that is put in place in order to address it. For example, every year we develop our annual budgets and we say our annual budgets are developed, all right, towards growth, unemployment reduction, and what have you. The question is, how are these budgets formulated? There is no basis. You just see those ministries, they just tell you, oh, for finance, let's give them this amount. For tourism, let's give them this amount. And when the budget is small, you will see a senator shouting on the House of on the floor that the budget you are giving to my ward is too small. You will see a minister harassing the Minister of Finance. I'm sorry, when I mean harassing, I don't mean accosting, but making emphasis that the budget to my ministry is small, increase it by 20 billion. What are the basis of you developing those budgets? It's not just the objective. It's not just those crude oil price projection, total production, exchange rate. No. Look at IMF. IMF has models. When COVID-19 hit, IMF came up with their model that this is the growth trajectory. After 3 months, they revised it. World Bank, they have their models. IMF, they have their models. Go to these ministries, ask them, where is your model? Which model are you using? Go to the ministry, they are in Abuja there. Ask them, which model did you use? How did you arrive at capital expenditure for Ministry of Education? And you discover that there is nothing. In that capital expenditure, it's all about travels and motor vehicle. So how do you want to develop a strategy that will reduce unemployment? Let us learn from those people in US. Let's learn from Canada, UK. They have models. This is where the tertiary institution, the researchers comes to play. We should have a model that 1 + 1 will give us 2. 2 + 2 will give us 4. We don't have. I can tell you that. We don't. And then the second one is lack of continuity. You see a good project that comes in place, before you know it, it becomes another story. By 2021, next year now, we will see our fiscal sustainability paper and plan that precedes the ERGP. And you ask yourself, what are the objectives there? So those are the two major problems. We must, if we are to plan, all these banks you are seeing, all these organizations, they have models. They have a target, and that's why they are getting results. But federal government just wakes up, just bring up something. There is no model. There is no model. Thank you.
Very much. I must say that was very, very educative. Very, very educative. Please, the group chat has the slides, both for Dr. Shito and Mr. Buchi have been sent there. If you need them, you don't have to wait for long before you get them. So it's right at your finger. You can take a look. We require you to produce a paper form based on what you learn in these lectures and your personal study. And of course, we'll be rewarding the best author with a cash prize. You can submit between now and December, was it December 26th or December 26th? Yeah, December 26th, between now and December 26th. We'll be reviewing the papers, and by January, the first week of January, we'll be announcing who the best paper is. The best author is. Of course, we also hope to publish the paper in the media. So stay tuned. Thank you very much. Not to waste more of your time, or more of your time rather. I would like to express appreciation to all the panelists, Moise, hello, Dr. Shitu, the speaker, and Mr. Abuchi. Thank you so much for attending. This has been recorded and of course will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. We'll also be uploading it to the Exploring Economics website as the network based in Germany, and to we'll also be sending it to Rethinking Economics in the United Kingdom for publication in their next email that they send to all their registered members. Thank you very much once again. This is the end of the webinar. If you have questions, please, you can ask on the group chat. For the question and answers that are yet unanswered, we'll look at them and put them in the Excel sheet. And of course, we'll share the answers on the group chat also. So thank you once again. Yeah, have a lovely weekend and season's greetings.
Thank you very much. Thank you.